Hey guys, Steven here with STS Pickleball, and today we're going to be doing something very objective and scientific. We're taking this $3,000 Starrett SR160. Yes, I did spend my own money on this. $3,000 I just spent on this Starrett meter, and this is going to be giving us legit, objective information on the roughness, the durability of the grit levels on all these different paddles. I'm surrounded by all of the top paddles in the space. I had a few of these guys, like Selkirk. They actually legitimately sent me a brand new boomstick so that we can see what a brand new one is like in comparison to one that I've been using. We're going to be doing that on all of the top paddles in the space. So without further ado, let's dig straight into it. So first, before we dive right into this, I do want to say, if you want to support my channel, I did spend $3,000 on this unit of hardware for this video and for future videos and reviews. The best way you can support me is, one, of course, use my code STS Pickleball. It works on any of these paddles. And then for Honolulu's website, you can use code STS10 for anything that is carbon fiber or titanium specific. That'll save you some money there. Lastly, if you want to subscribe to my channel, that is also a massive help and the best way that you can say thank you and support the growth of my channel. So let's go ahead and dive into this. Okay, so first up, let's go ahead and jump into the Ronbus Quanta series. So the R3 on the Quanta has been the one that I've been using the most. I put some weight right here, just kind of like where the boomstick has its weight. Been really enjoying that paddle. And we have a brand new Quanta R1 here, which has the plastic on the grip still. So it's brand new. And let's go ahead and see what we get here. Let's go ahead and run an analysis on the R3. 24.5 RZ and 38.3 RT. So nothing crazy there. Definitely kind of on the lower end of the spectrum. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into what all 5 of these different metrics mean. So RA is going to be average roughness, the overall grit feel. It's the average of the little bumps and valleys. Higher RA equals just a generally rougher surface. RZ is going to be one of our most important metrics. This is going to be the average peak to valley height. So the typical mountain range size. It averages the distance from the tops of the peaks to the bottoms of the valleys across a scan. This is the main number USAP uses for legality. So less than 30 micrometers is going to be the threshold for USAP's legality. So anything 30 or below is going to be legal as far as USAP goes. RP is going to be max peak height, the tallest spike above the average line in that trace. RV is going to be max valley depth, the deepest, the lowest point in that trace. RT is going to be the total peak to valley height, so the worst case gap. Tallest peak to deepest valley in the entire scan, used alongside RZ by USAP. USAP sets their threshold at less than 40 micrometers on average for this particular value. If this is big, it usually means scratches, logo ridges, or wear damage. It could also just be irregularities in manufacturing or the way that they manufactured the grit levels on the face. So RZ is really going to be our main parameter for telling the difference between these different paddles. Okay, so as far as the general range of RZ values that I've seen so far, I've only been doing this for a little bit, but the RZ values I've seen so far range anywhere from about like 20 all the way up to maybe about like 50. I may have seen a couple around 60, but yeah, so that's going to be the general range in RZ values, so you can kind of understand what this is like. So let's go ahead and jump into the Quanta R1, and we'll go ahead and run an analysis on that real quick and see what we get. So on this brand new Quanta R1, we're getting a score of 25.3 RZ and a score of 32.4 RT. So both well within the legal limits. I would say that the nice thing about that is that there's not much drop off, but the downside is that you're really not starting out with a whole lot of grit with these. So and they do feel quite smooth to the touch, very, very smooth to the touch. So so that's the Quanta. Let's go ahead and jump into the Loco. So I have a brand new wide body Loco here with the plastic still on the grip. And then my most used Loco was the elongated version. So let's go ahead and hit this with a nice little paddle eraser. Make sure that we get this nice and cleaned off. Let's go ahead and drop this right onto the sweet spot. And let's get a score on the Loco elongated. Let's see what we got here. So the Locos did come in feeling quite gritty. Let's go ahead and see what we get here. So we're looking at an RZ value of 32.9. and an RT of 42.4 for the used elongated Loco. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump over to the wide body Loco and see what we're getting here for the RZ value here. Let's go ahead and see what we get. This is so fun. I love this. I love being able to quantify this stuff. Okay, so RZ value of 39.5. That's a big number, biggest number we've seen so far, and an RT of 64.8. So remember what those legal limits were, right? I mean, this is pushing the boundaries for sure. So yeah, so the big difference there is going to be, there's a little bit more of a drop off with these than there was with the Quanta series, but you're also starting out with more grit. So you're going to start out with more spin, more grit, more friction. It might drop a little bit quicker than the Quanta series, but even if it's dropping a little quicker, you're still maintaining more over time. It's going to take a while for these to get down to the levels of the Quanta series as far as grit goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into something juicy here. Let's go ahead and jump into the Honolulu paddles. All right, so up next we have the J2NFK from Honolulu. This one feels extremely gritty. It's definitely one of the grittiest paddles I've seen and felt, just tactically speaking. Seems like their titanium versions and their Kevlar versions are definitely a little bit more gritty than the rest of their paddles. Yeah, this is crazy. 46 RZ and a 77.9 RT. That is absolute insanity. So the grit levels on these are just, it's just crazy. Yeah, wow, that is an enormous score. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the J2NFT. I'm really excited about this one. When I first got this paddle, it felt so gritty to the touch, and I'm very excited to see how it's held up over time. I've probably used this paddle more than any other paddle in this room so far, and yeah, exactly, look at this. RZ 39.1, RT 70.5. And that's after using this paddle literally more than any other paddle in this room by a large margin. I use this all the time. I use it anytime that I go out and play, practice, when I'm doing drills. That is crazy how that's held up. Okay, so next up, let's go ahead and jump into the J2NF. This is going to be their stealth version. They're giving 100% of the proceeds back on this paddle to all the people that were affected by the flood in Texas, which is very nice of Honolulu to do. So that is really, really, really nice of them. And we got an RZ value of 33.4 and an RT value of 44.3. So yeah, so for whatever reason, even just tactically feeling that, their carbon fiber paddles don't feel quite as gritty as their titanium or Kevlar paddles. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into the J2NF long handle real quick. This one I've also used quite a bit. This one is a carbon fiber paddle. So let's go ahead and see what we get here on this one. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty relative to that stealth version. Actually pretty solid. I've used this one a lot too. So this one's very, very good. 36.7 micrometers on RZ and a 49.8 on RT. So holding up very nicely and must have started quite gritty. This one does feel a little grittier than the stealth version for whatever reason. And then we have a J7NF here. This one feels also quite gritty to the touch. Let's go ahead and see what we get here. And I will say, if you want to save any money on the carbon fiber and titanium versions of these paddles, you can use code STS10. That's my specific code for Honolulu for their carbon fiber and titanium paddles. And then STS Pickleball will save you $20 off any of their Kevlar paddles specifically. So very solid on this one. So this is a brand new J7NF. And this one came in at 38.1 RZ and a 58.1 RT. So very, very solid starting score for a carbon fiber version of the Honolulu Paddles. So, all right, so next up, let's go ahead and jump into, let's do the carbon waves. So here I have a brand new carbon 3 waves, and then I have a very used carbon 1 waves. I'd say the 1 is probably the one that I've used by far the most out of these paddles. I don't know why the carbon 1 just felt the best to me out of the waves. So let's go ahead and jump into this. So 33.3 RZ and 40.7 RT. Actually pretty dang solid. I wouldn't have expected that from carbon. A lot of their paddles feel pretty smooth to the touch. I would say that the carbon waves are probably the grittiest paddles that I've felt from carbon, generally speaking. So let's go ahead and jump into a brand new paddle. So this is going to be the carbon 3 waves brand new. Let's see if there's any difference here. And 35 RZ and 43.8 RT. So pretty solid. So not really that much of a drop off there, which is nice. So they're definitely utilizing quality materials here, and the grit is holding up very, very well over time, because the brand new one was only like 2 RT difference than the one that I've used. And the one that I've used there, I've used a ton. So let's go ahead and jump into the Gearbox GX2 Powers. So on the Gearbox GX2 Powers, we have a very used elongated, and then we have a brand new with the plastic on GX2 Power hybrid paddle. So let's go ahead and see how these stack up. So I will say with the GX2 Powers, and I even brought this up in Discord, and some people were telling me that I was crazy, but the GX2 Powers feel so ridiculously smooth to the touch. I'm imagining these are going to be probably some of the lower scores that we see today. Yeah, so 27.2 RZ and 35 RT. So well within the legal limits. Very, very smooth to the touch. I mean, it almost feels like it's very soft, very smooth, almost felt like in a way, but no real grit to speak of on these. Let's go ahead and try the brand new one and see if there's really any difference here. So this is going to be the brand new Gearbox GX2 Power in the hybrid version. So it's going to be 28.6 RZ and 43.3 RT. So decent, but again, you know, fairly low in comparison to what we're seeing from a lot of these other paddles, right? So, so what you feel is what you get, you know, come on. Like these paddles are very, very, very soft to the touch, very smooth. There's not a whole lot of grit. There's not much friction going on with these paddles. You can get very good spin on drives and serves with these paddles, but you're not going to get nearly as much spin on drops and dinks, softer shots, because these paddles are utilizing dwell for their spin, much more so than grit or friction, right? So, and then last, let's go ahead and jump into what I'm most excited about outside of probably the Honolulu paddles, because those ones always felt so gritty to me, but the Selkirk BOOMSTIK paddles. So this is going to be the Selkirk BOOMSTIK elongated. Selkirk was actually nice enough to send me a brand new Selkirk BOOMSTIK elongated paddle. So this is a brand new version. You can even see the difference in the aesthetics. So the one over here being used might look a little lighter. You might not be able to see that on the video very well, but I can notice this one looks very used. This one looks brand new. The red on this one is a lot deeper. Let's go ahead and see what the grit looks like on these. So this is very exciting. I'm excited about this. Let's see if this Infinigrit holds up. All right, running it. Let's go. See what we get here. What's it gonna be? All right, RZ 32.9, RT 45 for the used one. Okay, pretty decent, pretty decent. Selkirk is a larger brand, so they're probably not going to be pushing those numbers too high. They're definitely going to be flirting around with that legal limit. And then let's go ahead and see what the brand new one looks like. If you have any guesses on this, go ahead and throw them in the comments down below. I'm really curious what you guys think. You guys think Infinigrit's going to be super durable and hold up and be super solid and be relative to the used one? Or do you think it's going to be a big difference? Super solid. Jeez, I was not expecting that. RZ score, 34. RT, 50.2. Really not much difference at all there, right, between the two. And I have used this Selkirk BOOMSTIK like crazy. And then also, if you want to save some money on the BOOMSTIK as well, you can use code INF-SCS Pickleball. That is the biggest discount you can get in the space as far as Selkirk goes. Selkirk doesn't actually give you a direct discount on the paddle, but you do get the highest allotment of gift card back with your purchase. So I'm plugging the codes in this video a little bit just because I did spend $3,000 on this Starrett SR160. But yeah, I'm very impressed with Infinigrit. Jeez. That held up like crazy. I mean, I'm not lying. I've been using this paddle every single session. The Honolulu and this I've been using like crazy. I use this to compare all the new power paddles to. I use the Honolulu. I use the Honolulu to compare everything else to just something that's a little bit more balanced and straightforward. But I will say that I'm very impressed with Infinigrit. I did not think it was going to hold up that good. I knew it was going to hold up pretty well because in my testing, you know, doing RPM testing and stuff, like it has held up pretty dang well, just as far as RPM analysis goes. But there can be a little discrepancy in that, a little bit of human error. So to take that human error out and use something that is accurate down to like 0.02 microns or something, it's just absolutely insane. This is super cool. So to see that Infinigrit is actually holding up is really nice to see that objectively and scientifically, right? So that surprised me, I gotta say. Okay, so it's actually been a few hours and I sat down, I was looking at all this information, trying to figure out what the takeaways are here, right? I also put together a slide so you can kind of understand all of the values that we got today in one quick shot. So, you know, definitely screenshot that or save it, share this video with your friends, you know, and we'll start getting the understanding of micrometers and the general scale of micrometers for grit levels to be a little bit more of a standard thing that we're talking about as far as, you know, testing pickleball paddles. But let's go and throw the slide up here and let's start talking about this stuff. So, okay, so one of my first big takeaways here is going to be the fact that paddle to paddle, there is a pretty big discrepancy in grit levels, right? So, and we've known this for a while. You know, some paddles come out super gritty, some paddles come out less gritty. It is a little bit of a lottery, which is kind of a bummer. But you know, that is definitely proven here. Definitely moving forward, what I'll need to do is I'll need to just start with the same paddle, right? So every time I get a new paddle from now on, I'll throw the Starrett SR160 on it, get some grit levels. I'll actually average multiple different spots and average that out for a starting grit analysis. And then I'll figure out a way to sort of quantify or try and understand how much I'm using the paddle so that we can start getting durability breakdowns with the same exact paddle, right? Because as you can see, with paddles like the bread and butter Loco starting at 39.5 micrometers, and then the used one at 32.9 micrometers, the takeaway there isn't that it had the biggest loss out of all these paddles. The takeaway there is that, there's a big discrepancy in manufacturing, to be honest, because that wide body that started out at 39.5 micrometers, tactically, when I was feeling that just with touch, it was noticeably far grittier than the elongated and the hybrid paddles that they sent me. So again, this isn't as much of a durability takeaway yet. I would say that there are a few durability takeaways here, but I wouldn't jump to any specific conclusions on some of these paddles as of right now, because of course manufacturing discrepancies, right? So Honolulu, big takeaway there is, the Honolulu J2NFK and an RZ of 46 and an RT of 77.9. So that is the largest RZ and RT score of anything that we see on here. Okay, so the next takeaway is going to be, and keep in mind, this is a used Honolulu J2NFT, but so the fourth one down in the green row, the used Honolulu J2NFT, I've used that paddle more than really any other paddle on this entire list. Use that paddle all the time. And it has an RZ score of 39.1, which is, I believe, the third highest score on this entire sheet. Yeah. And it has the second highest RT score. So it has a third highest grit level averaged out, and then it has the second highest single tallest peak to the single deepest valley in that grit. So the fact that I've used that this long and it's still maintained that much grit is absolutely astonishing. Those are massive numbers. So Honolulu is definitely killing it in the grit game, and I've been saying that for a long time, and my spin results have been showing that as well. But yeah, so that should clear up any sort of discrepancy there. As far as Honolulu's grit levels, they definitely are killing the game as far as grit goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into another takeaway here, and that's going to be with the Gearbox GX2 Power series, right? So I put out a video recently talking about dwell time versus grit for spin specifically, and this does show that the Gearbox GX2 Power is definitely utilizing dwell time, because it's keeping up with some of the more elite spinning paddles in the space with low grit levels, right? Lower grit levels. So an RZ score of 28.6 is fairly tame in comparison to some other numbers we're seeing on here, but it is still competing in a more elite spin category, right? So that just shows that, it is utilizing dwell time for its spin metrics. So I've done some testing on this, but I'm going to be doing some more testing soon just to really kind of prove this all out. But it seems that dwell specific paddles are going to be less aggressive in their spin metrics on softer shots like drops and dinks. So if you're trying to add more aggressive spin on your drops and your dinks and softer shots like that, as of right now, it seems like dwell specific paddles will be less aggressive on their spin metrics for softer shots in comparison to high grit levels, right? Okay, so and my last big takeaway here is going to be with the Selkirk BOOMSTIK. I was very, very impressed with the RZ scores here, right? So the new Selkirk BOOMSTIK came in at an RZ score of 34 micrometers, an RT of 50.2, and the used one, which I've used probably the second most out of all these paddles outside of the J2NFT, it came in at an RZ score of 32.9 micrometers and an RT score of 45 micrometers, right? So extremely, extremely low percentage of loss there. I calculated it out. It's 3.2% loss there, which is absolutely outstanding. So again, now that I have a brand new one, I'm going to be testing multiple different spots on that brand new face, and then we'll be testing that exact same paddle down the line. But as of right now, this seems very promising. So a 3.2% loss is very, very low. And in my game, I haven't noticed really much spin loss at all. A little bit of drop off, of course, but not as drastic as a lot of other paddles that are utilizing just sort of traditional resin and peel ply textures. So yeah, it seems like the Selkirk BOOMSTIK with their Infinigrit technology actually checks out. So we'll be testing that more to kind of prove that out over time, so that we're not using multiple different paddles, right? We want to use the same paddle for a truly sort of scientific method here. But as of right now, you know, in this testing, in this test, 3.2% loss is very, very good. So props to Selkirk there. And yeah, that's going to be most of my takeaways. So if you guys have any questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. Consider subscribing as well. That's the best way. It's a free way to support my channel and to support everything that I'm trying to do here with all these new gadgets and stuff. I love this whole process. I think it's so fun. And you can click right over here if you want to see the top 5 pickleball paddles updated of 2025. Hope you guys have a freaking wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.